Who is Ed Baxter?
Yeah.
When did you first realise that you wanted to run your own business, be an entrepreneur? You ready for some quick fire questions? Welcome to the JOD Pod, a micro podcast where we interview CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, authors and coaches. Today we are very lucky we're joined by Ed Baxter, founder of both Edward Baxter Swimming and also co-founder and managing director of the AP Race Group. Great to have you with us today, Ed.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. So for those of us who don't know who Ed Baxter is, who is Ed Baxter?
So I'm recently, as in the start of the COVID pandemic, retired international athlete. I had a very good good junior career. I was a British record holder and Youth Commonwealth Games champion. And a couple of years prior to my the age of 21 retirement, I'd started my own private coaching business. And that had kind of taken off a little bit more than I'd expected it would have. And from that, my then training partner, Adam Peaty, we spoke about how we can do what I was doing on a little bit of a larger scale in terms of swimming clinics and the wider areas of swimming. As generally, swimming is quite a very traditional sport, is a nice way of putting it, I guess. It's kind of just always been done the same way, and where other sports kind of getting dragged into the future, there's not many people who are trying to do the same with swimming, so we kind of took it upon ourselves to try and do that.
Fantastic. And you're still quite young. When did you first realise that you wanted to run your own business, be an entrepreneur?
I'm not really sure. I think I've always been that way of thinking. I think I've always been quite active in terms of finding good ways to do things. And for me, I think the biggest thing I've realised is business is kind of really just logic and common sense, or just it's just kind of strategic, isn't it? And I've always been a very, very logical person. So I think I kind of always had I didn't have a goal of saying I want my own business or I want to really grow something. That wasn't ever a thought for me, to be honest. My only ever career path was being a world champion, a world record holder of a swimmer. So it kind of fell into place. But I think when it started to move faster than expected, I think it was just a really natural, logical progression for me, I guess.
Yeah. Do you think there's common characteristics between elite level sport and entrepreneurialism?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a little bit different because in sport my vision is more is better. So if that's a next training session, that's good. And in sport, that can become very detrimental in some respects. If you're not recovering enough, and I think that was one of the things that I wasn't great at in sport is knowing when to slow down, when to back off a little bit. But I think with business, as long as the work's still high quality, you can do a vast amount while still, if you're holding the quality, you can do that extra bit. You might get less sleep or whatever it is, but you can still you can still do it, if that makes sense. So I think there's a huge amount of similarities in terms of the work ethic and the way that you work. But I think in business you can always push it a little bit further, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it's a good attitude, and anybody that's maybe looking at starting their own business, using an elite athlete as inspiration. Sounds like something that they could do, and they could help to get started, and also when maybe the chips are down, it actually helps you keep your chin up and keep going.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's so many people who are ex-athletes or successful athletes who go into really successful professional careers, and I think it's often that where people don't transfer from sport into business, I think it's often just through a lack of either kind of support through the sport they've been in to kind of say, look, this is what you can do in the real world. I think a lot of sports just focus on, you're in the sport, this is what you do in the sport, this is what you do in the sport, see you later. Whereas I think if there was a lot more support further than the sport, I think it would be massively beneficial for people.
Yeah, that's really interesting. My sport was judo, and I know quite a lot of like ex Olympians through that, and
awesome.
You see a lot of them. I see so many characteristics in them that could make them awesome, business people because of the discipline and putting in the reps and learning theory, but then applying it in a real world scenario. But they don't make the leap. And I think that there's something maybe within the sport to actually show that as a real career path. That's really interesting. One question I always ask is where people got their first customer. I'm interested how you kind of transitioned and got your first customer.
It's quite a funny story, actually. I think I was 19 and I'd had a very controversial cut from British Swimming funding. And I'd worked my coach's summer camp, Mel Marshall. I'd worked her summer camp that she was running. and it was kind of the end of the week. All the kids were kind of going home. I think it was about 60, 70 kids, and I was with Mel while she was kind of saying goodbye to all the kids and the parents. And one kid came over and said, "Oh, Mel, do you do any?" Or the parents, sorry, said, "Do you do any one-to-one sessions?" Mel said, "Oh no, I don't," and kind of grabbed my arm and just said, "But Ed's just started them there, £45 an hour. They're at this pool and they're on a Sunday afternoon. Here's his number. Drop him a text and get booked in." And when the parents had left, I kind of looked at her and was like, "What do I?" And she said, "Look, you've just had you can't fund yourself to swim anymore unless we find another way of doing it. Technique was always a kind of a strong point for me. I was a highly technical swimmer, and I always, if I was in the pool and I always noticed things and kind of said it to other swimmers. And she just said, I think you'd be pretty good at it." From there, it was they brought a friend to a session and then thought, well, I could probably put it on my Instagram. From then, it was let's build a Wix website, and it just kind of grew and grew. And we've got 6 coaches now and 150 regular clients. So it's quite a funny story, to be honest.
That's a great first customer to get, and it's interesting. So you basically had for want of a better term, a hype person who got hold of you and said, "Look, someone should be paying you to do this kind of service." That's really interesting. I think every time I've asked someone for their first customer, there's been a different story, and that's that's awesome.
Like I'll always be grateful for Mel for doing that. Quite literally got hold of me. And yeah, because without that, the brand with Adam wouldn't have started. The impact of having on people's lives through sport wouldn't have ever happened. So that all kind of started from that kind of moment at her swim camp.
What a catalyst! Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's move on to that. What are you working on now then?
So at the minute, my business kind of just runs one-to-ones every weekend. Like I said, we're probably doing about 40 hours across the coaching per week, and then we've got. We work on some bigger projects. We've got overseas clients who travel to the UK for kind of camps. We do our own swim clinics here and there. So we're just working out, how to grow that business. And then the stuff I do with Adam Peaty, we're really going to control the swimming market in the UK. We can see there's huge gaps in not just from a business perspective, but from the consumer. So sports people, so swimmers, coaches, and parents, they don't get the service they deserve. And we really want to impact that. So we've launched two kind of projects, and we're working on another 6 active ones that will hopefully be launched within the next year. That are all the same size as each other with a very small team, but we're massively passionate. So it's a vast amount of work, and we really believe that we're gonna change the world of sport. But we're just kind of. The big thing for us is we're not just going to say, we're going to do something and launch it and then add bits here and there. We want to really want to develop what we're going to put out so that when we do launch it, it's the highest quality we can possibly get for the people that deserve it, the swimmers, the coaches, the parents, whoever it is.
Fantastic. And are you going after lots of different types of customer then? You're going to be bringing out different types of products and services?
Yeah, so at the minute we do the AP race clinics. So we tour the country. We're doing 10 clinics this year, which bookings are open for, and then we just kind of literally drive from place to place, about 2-3 hour drive every night. Literally a tour as a rock star or a pop star would do, but running swim clinics. And then we also got our online platform. So it's kind of a 2-year course essentially, and that delivers content to from swimming, strength and conditioning, psychology, nutrition, and then a parent support section. And that delivers content every week. So you sign up and subscribe, and then every single week there's new content, which is video based or text and kind of word format based. And we're really proud of that because we don't know another sport in the whole world that kind of drops content of this level. We're using the people that literally Adam is coached by, so we use the strength and conditioning coaches, we use a psychologist. So we're building a world-class program that is not available just to the best swimmers in the country or the best swimmers in the world. It's available to anyone, anywhere, because that's really key for us. There's so much knowledge in the world, and in sport that's just kept for the very top people. And we're going to make the fastest people faster, rather than in 10 years when the fastest people are gone, you need a crop of amazing swimmers to come through. So we see our role as really developing those younger guys.
Fantastic. And you've said this is for everyone, but where is this targeted? Is this someone that started swimming that wants to get better, or?
We get that question quite a lot. Who is I'm a master swimmer, can I sign up? I've just started swimming, can I sign up? and it's just competitive swimming based content. It doesn't matter if you're starting swimming or if you've been swimming 20 years, you still need to know how to visualize your race. And I don't think there's anyone who's kind of better than that and more qualified in that than Adam and his kind of performance psychologist. So from that aspect, there's always areas, and we're not perfect. No one's perfect. So as much as we're learning, we're trying to help people. There's 5 areas we deliver content from. The chances of someone being perfect in all 5 areas is pretty slim.
Fantastic. That sounds like such an awesome product where it is now, but from what you're saying, there's lots to come, and hopefully with the Olympics, that's going to bring even more eyeballs onto the work that you're doing. So really exciting times. You ready for some quick fire questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Fantastic. What's your favorite app or SaaS product that you use every day?
I don't use any out there crazy apps that I think is revolutionary, but I listen to a vast amount of music. So I think Spotify for me, it's really simple interface, really good. I think it's got a great algorithm in terms of my daily mix is what I want to listen to today. So Spotify is probably my favorite app.
Awesome. And you do that? You listen to that whilst you're working?
It depends what I'm working on. If I'm typing, I cannot listen because it just comes through. But if I'm kind of filtering through content, and just a little bit of background music often helps.
Fantastic. That's cool. I do a lot of video editing, so I can't listen to any kind of music. But when I'm writing, getting some high energy stuff going on actually helps with the flow. That's interesting. What's your most recommended book?
Ooh, it's a bit embarrassing. I'm not a reader. I've never been a reader, and I find it really difficult. And it's something I really, really know that I should get into. Audiobooks, I think, will be the way forward for me. But the only form of kind of writing or reading thing that's really beneficial for me is I do a line a day. I don't know if you've seen those books, but you write one line a day or a sentence a day around what's happened, and then it kind of lines it up for the year. So next year, I'll see what I was writing about this day last year, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I think
like a journal.
Essentially, yeah, but a really short, brief one, and kind of really well set back from seeing progress. I'm obsessed with progress. And I think from seeing what was going on a year ago, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year ago, will be. I think that'll be really cool for me. Man,
that's really cool. I've never heard of that, but that sounds like a really I can see how that would work, and it shows the kind of compound interest of the work that you're putting in. Okay then, who's your favourite YouTuber or podcaster?
Favourite podcaster is Jake Humphrey's High Performance Podcast. Yeah. And my favourite YouTuber, I probably got YouTube's a bit of a weird one for me. I kind of got people I watch in specific moods, I think. But my favourite kind of podcaster on YouTube is True Geordie. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he does a lot around he's really big on mental health in men, and not because he's a really big tattooed gym guy, and I think he makes it very real for a lot of people. He's been very involved in friend suicides and stuff like that. So that's a really good one. And for just kind of like crazy fun content, Mr. Beast I think is pretty revolutionary in the YouTube space.
Mr. Beast is an absolute beast in YouTube. Yes.
Yeah. Quite similar.
Really, it's so clever the way that he works as well. If you actually look at the business side of it and the way that he works the algorithm, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to be the next Elon Musk?
I got 2 answers for this. I think
2?
From a business perspective,
okay, we can do 2. Yeah, go for it.
From a business perspective, from what I've seen, I think Ben Francis with Gymshark, I think the way he saw the market and his passion grew it is, I think, to take a clothing company in such a short space of time to a £1 billion valuation is ridiculous. So from a business aspect, but I've read, I've seen a lot about him. I've watched quite a lot about him, and I think from he's on the autistic spectrum, I believe, and I don't think his personality is the kind of Elon's very extroverted personality. But I think from that personality sense, I think Mr. Beast is the only one that you could say is going to be completely wacky and kind of has the power to do what he wants and just is going to do it, I think.
They're 2 like young guys that are absolutely on an upward trajectory, and it's going to be really interesting to see actually what just in 10 years' time where where they might be.
About those guys, what I love about those guys is Mr. Beast come into a very new space. I think YouTube over the last kind of 5 years is when people have seen that's where you can make a living. But I think where he's at in terms of is so engaging with lots of different age ranges. He's not explicit, so he doesn't get demonetized. He does some ridiculous things. I think that's so impressive. But then, like Ben Francis to take on a Nike or to take on, your Adidas's, Under Armour's, I think that's just a way to captivate a whole generation. I think is like it's once in a lifetime kind of person in a space, I guess.
Yeah, and they both built themselves platforms basically through a lot of content actually that they can then actually diversify with products or services in any particular area. And Mr. Beast has done that with the burgers, Mr. Beast burgers recently. Like it's it's interesting, and I think a lot of people who are content creators are going to are going to be the new entrepreneurs, because you need a platform in order to do anything nowadays, which is I think something that you guys are proving over at AP.
I think they always say, well, you always say, isn't it, content is king. We've got hundreds, if not thousands, of hours of videos. We've got tens of thousands of photos, but more content, we can't get enough. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. Make it happen, man. That's awesome. Where's the best place for people to find you online?
Probably Instagram or Twitter. They're both at Edward Baxter 98. I'm not very active on Facebook, but my LinkedIn, which I'm trying to be more active on, is Edward Baxter.
Fantastic. We'll put a link to that. And for AP group.
Yeah. So everything we're doing based on AP or Adam Peaty is just adampeaty.co.uk, and from there you should find everything if we've done a decent job with the website.
That's great. There we have it. Ed is the founder of both Edward Baxter Swimming and the co-founder and managing director of AP Race Group. He managed to get his first customer by being grabbed by the arm by his coach and dragged into the coaching session, kicking and screaming, no doubt, to help fund his swimming career. Ed's favourite app is Spotify, where he puts on his daily mix to listen to keep him motivated at work. His most recommended book is not a novel or a business book or even an audio book. It's a journal where he drops a line a day, a sentence a day, so he can see his progress over the years. That's an awesome idea, Ed. I absolutely love that. He loves listening to the High Performance Podcast by Jake Humphries and watching True Geordie about mental health in men over on the YouTube, as well as kicking back and enjoying some craziness from Mr. Beast. He thinks that we should be keeping an eye on Mr. Beast. There's potentially a future Elon Musk, and also Ben Francis over at Gymshark as being a potential high flyer. If he's not already a high flyer, but a super duper high flyer in the future. And you can find out more about Ed by checking out his Instagram, Edward Baxter 98, and also his company that he runs with Adam Peaty, the Adam Peaty Group, at adampeaty.co.uk. That's ADAMPEATY.co.uk. Ed, thanks for joining us today on the JOD Pod.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you for joining us on today's interview with Ed on the JOD Pod. To ensure you don't miss out on any of these future episodes, make sure you subscribe. You know the deal. Hit the button, bang the bell. And if you've got any questions for me or Ed, drop them in the comments below this video. I'm sure Ed will spend some time answering any questions you got about swimming or business. And, it helps out the video, it helps out Ed, makes us all feel a bit happier and more joyful. So, help out, throw a comment below. And we'll get back to all of them, I'm sure. So hopefully you've been inspired by what Ed's done today, what he's built and what he's trying to build. Please go and build something yourself. Inspire the next generation. And thank you for joining us today on the JOD Pod. If you enjoyed this interview, why don't you check out some of these other interviews that we've done on the JOD Pod. More inspirational CEOs, coaches, entrepreneurs, founders, and authors. I'm sure there's something here that will inspire you to build something new.